Yes.
I guess you didn't get much sleep.
What do you mean?
Well, did you stay up until they actually started?
Well, remember, 3 a.m.
Oh,
York
well,
is only
oh,
midnight
actually,
here.
okay, yeah, that's not that bad. Okay, yeah.
There's a
I
time
gave up
zone
like
thing
about
going
1
on.
in the morning.
Yeah,
Our
no,
my time.
I was.
I mean, I could see they were working, but I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? I could because
I
they
am never,
kept
I am never
building.
asleep by midnight anyway. Like,
And no. I kept thinking it was 3 in the morning.
yes, it was
And
three
then
in the
you said, and
morning, East
yeah, and
Coast.
then right, but then you would have stayed up until like 5 or something or 6.
No, the whole the scaffolding was to put
Put up
curtains
the curtains.
so that
And I did. The worst thing is that well,
and,
hey,
and,
let
and
well, hold
specific.
off. Let's talk about it on the show. It's
Well,
like wait.
yeah, this will be included.
Well,
Okay,
the thing is
shall
that
we start?
yeah, okay, yeah,
Shall I hit the music and do the thing?
fire it
And
up.
yeah, fire it up, fire,
Launch the
burning bright.
missiles.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Welcome to Curmudgeon's Corner for Saturday, June 13th, 2026. It's just before 1730 UTC. I'm Sam Minter and Yvonne Bow is here again. Hello, Yvonne.
Hello.
So shall we continue what we started, or should we jump into something else and then go
No,
back
no,
to that
no,
later?
no. Yeah, no. We can continue. You know, I thought I'm like, as this was happening, wouldn't they want to do this like behind a curtain? I kept thinking about that. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a thought that crossed my mind. Okay. But they didn't put that thing up until I went to sleep. So
No,
yeah. So when I saw it then this morning, I'm like, okay, that's yeah. They didn't.
So, well, look,
Trump didn't want his little ego, his little tiny little,
there are a couple things
ego
here.
hurt.
First, I did see a few people trying to justify the curtains and the scaffolding and everything.
There was
with
no reason.
let me say what some people said. Well, look, yes, they put it up with a scissor lift easily, and they didn't need scaffolding for that. But when you're taking it out, you're actually doing a restoration. You have to be very, very careful taking it out. You have to patch the holes.
Well, now that is the thing.
Wait,
If what they're going to do is that entire job,
but wait a second, and then they're like, and you got to be really careful to set it up so you don't accidentally drop the letters, so they hurt the Kennedy Center letters below, and blah 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 blah. But then, two things. First of all, even if that was true,
yes,
it potentially explains the scaffolding. It does not explain taking like 12 hours to put up the scaffolding and then waiting around
all standing around
until
like
3
idiot
in the morning.
Right.
Because that was clearly to, we want to do that. Like, there were multiple live streams put on by various different networks of just a camera pointing at it, waiting to see it come down. There was a crowd in person at
cheering
the
it
Kennedy
on,
Center, cheering it on. And so clearly they wanted to wait as long as humanly possible in order to have less people watching. And then putting the tarps in front of it also helped with that. And look,
I did not see a counter crowd.
They missed the deadline.
By the way,
that it was supposed to be done by midnight.
They
did
did
have
file
they
something to
filed something before midnight
night
asking for an extension, and
12 hours.
the judge did eventually give them the 12 hours, but not until after they'd actually missed the deadline.
Yeah.
Okay. um and by the way, the whole be really really careful with restoration. There was one cameraman who actually got the shot, got into right angle so he could see behind the tarps.
Yeah. So you could see when
and
they pulled the letters. Yeah.
and this was not a complicated operation. I saw someone describe it as they popped that thing off like Lego. You
Yeah.
know, with their bare hands, no tools involved. They just grabbed the letter and pulled, and it was gone. And they might do some of that patching and stuff, but and as of now, apparently, which is
Yeah.
now, I don't know, however many hours later, whatever time it is, I forget. Anyway, it's still up. The curtains are still up. So
Oh,
people are
they're not coming. Oh, believe me, they're not going to come down for a while. I didn't
right,
expect. Right.
exactly. So the question is, do these curtains stay up for the rest of Donald Trump's presidency?
I would. I wouldn't be surprised.
A few years, it's fine. Because you now have to mask the abomination that is the Kennedy Center without Trump's name on it, because nobody
Right.
can be allowed to see that. Also, by the way, the board said apparently the board added something. The Trump controlled board added something to the bylaws that basically said if the Trump name is not on there, they're not giving any money, releasing any money to the Kennedy Center at all to
Of
actually
course,
do
that
anything.
will be. Of course, that will be challenged legally.
Of course,
as
the whole,
well.
probably even the curtain will be challenged. Somebody's
Yeah.
going to sue them to take the damn curtain down.
But look, right now, I don't even give a shit if they give another dime to the Kennedy Center, or the Kennedy Center doesn't hold another fucking event until Donald Trump is out of office. Just to get the fucking satisfaction of having his fucking name ripped off the damn wall was enough for me.
Yeah, and the fact that he had to put up the curtain, I'm not sure. Like, I wanted to have the spectacle of the letters coming down and all, but I also, the fact that his ego is so fragile, he had to cover it up and do it at 3 a.m, is in itself somewhat gratifying.
Yes.
So, that's fine. And I do actually wonder about, like, the whole patching the holes and stuff like that, because you drilled holes into a stone wall. I mean, it's not like you're ever going to put it back exactly how it was. I mean, they have good
not
ways
exactly,
to patch that.
But they listen. If you,
I know they
if you
can
do
make
a
it look
proper restoration job, you could make it look good. But it takes work.
decent. Right. Unless they were going to replace the whole damn wall, but
I
which
mean,
they
look,
could do.
which they could do because it's had to be done. I've worked on these stupid jobs, and sometimes we've had to just go and fucking like redo an entire wall
Right.
because of something like this. So yeah,
And like you said, there are there are ways, and I don't know how big the holes were either. Like,
No,
how
we don't know.
noticeable will it be?
we don't know. We don't know.
And they can do a good job. And then there's the difference between, can you make it so that you'll only notice if you're looking for it, versus can you make it so even if you're looking for it, you can't see it.
Well, I mean, that's like one of the things that I had to do in certain places where we were like fixing some, patching some walls like this, where basically I was just like, okay, I mean, you have to really be looking for where the gap is. So fuck it, it stays like that. Okay,
Yeah, it's
if
good
you
enough.
didn't know, if you didn't know, you wouldn't see it. Okay, good enough.
Right, and their levels below that too, right? Like,
Right.
okay, it's kind of noticeable, but it's not that bad,
Right.
And now for the Kennedy Center, I'm presuming that at some point, maybe not in Trump's presidency, but at some point, they're going to want to fix it really nice, On the other hand, you're apparently you can still go to the Capitol building and see where your compatriots shot it up like 60 years ago or whenever that was.
Well, but they did that. Wait. But that was finally fixed. It was there for a long time though.
Really, they completely fixed it? Because I thought I heard even recently stuff was still there.
Because it was fixed.
Because there are other places in the Capitol you can still see Civil War stuff. Like
I remember that the last time that I went to the Capitol,
Civil War, but there were a few fights and stuff.
Okay, that I recall. So the first time I visited the Capitol, it was the bullet holes were there. Okay, but I thought that the last time I visited DC that I went, apparently they had been patched. Okay. But I do know that they were there for a long time.
When did that happen? The 50s, the 60s?
It was in the 60s. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. For those who don't know, they have a bunch of Puerto Rican
group called the Macheteros, which was advocating for independence, went and broke into Congress and started shooting.
Right. Yeah. So, but because sometimes places like this actually intentionally decide not to fix things because it becomes part of the historical story of the building or whatever. I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up now. I thought that it had been patched last time I asked. But
okay.
I checked on this, but I may be wrong. It might still be there, but I saw them, and I will admit that the first time that it was a visit that I went to the Capitol. I'm not sure for what. I mean, because I went to DC for various things and visited the Capitol on various occasions. But there's this one time that I was in the gallery, and the tour person pointed that out, and I kind of felt like, oh God, it's
you kind of hid,
basically, yeah.
It's kind of like I was like, I'm not. It wasn't me. Yes.
So let me research that. But anyway,
cue the Jeopardy music, but not really because it's copyrighted.
Oh, right, exactly. Apparently, they still are there.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. The bullet holes and structural damage left by Puerto Rican nationalists on Capitol Hill were purposely left partially unpatched to serve as historical reminders. It's in 1954. I thought it was in it was in 54. It was
50s. So
it was the Macheteros, but it was in 54.
This is good because, if they had been patched up, you would be compelled to go and make new holes.
No, try not to do that.
No.
Okay. And I believe that I think they were pardoned, or their sentences commuted at least at some point. So, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, it was, Jimmy Carter commuted the sentences.
Well, there you go. There goes Jimmy doing his thing.
And that was the right thing to do. But.
So, shall we do our normal but firsty stuff? I mean, we started off on a sort of newsy event, although not a super serious newsy event, the whole Donald Trump on the Kennedy Center thing.
Well, I mean, it's just, but I think that you hit it on the head. I mean, it's a name on a wall.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't impact Americans' pocketbooks or anything.
Nobody's being held in an internment camp,
right.
because of that.
Right,
I mean,
because of that.
Obviously, people are. That's the whole point Like, of all of the Donald Trump things that are out there,
Right.
there are so many that are more significant than this.
But
However,
however, it's just the fact of just you know, this is one of his ego trip things, and you know, like I don't know. I guess they had that UFC fight yesterday.
oh wait, it
Also,
hasn't happened.
I think
thought
I think it was
still, I
yesterday.
thought it was tomorrow.
I thought it was yesterday.
You're gonna have to check this one too. I thought it hadn't happened yet. Because
I know that there were airline pilots were bitching about.
I know that I know they had some. They did some stuff with the lights. They had some opening activities, but I think the main event is Sunday, the 14th. I could be wrong.
Let me see.
I could be wrong.
I'm trying to look at this. When it UFC Freedom 250. No, you're right. It is on Sunday. Okay. I thought that because of there were airline pilots complaining.
Well, they've been testing the lights for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and airline pilots had been bitching that the damn lights were, worse than the fucking lasers they get pointed at them.
Right. Why do you need pilots going into, national airport able to see? I mean, it's
yeah. Well, I mean, we've shown that that's it's we don't safety. We don't need that shit at national. Everything's fine.
And famously, the airspace around Reagan National in D.C. is really easy for pilots to deal with. So, like,
yeah. There's it's just a room to roam.
Yes. Anyway. I got a book and a movie. Do you have something else first before I do a book and a movie?
Do I have any? I don't know. What am I doing?
And then we'll.
I have not hooked up my Whoop to my work calendar, but I will say, Sam shared this thing where it showed that the Whoop does have a stress monitor, and it works. I will tell you, it's
You've
pretty
been
accurate.
Mentioning in the show the last couple,
It's the stress monitor is very accurate. Okay, so there was some guy that apparently hooked up the Whoop and synchronized, wrote some, code. I don't know what he used, Codex or Anthropic, whatever. It went and coded something so he could see who his the people that he talked to at work that were causing the most stress.
So
and had a chart.
Specifically, he synced it up with his calendar at work, and had it for each meeting he was at. Had it look up the attendees of the meeting as well,
right?
And then generate a leaderboard based on his stress level at meetings, correlated to who was at the meetings, to generate a leaderboard of which people caused him the most stress.
It's fantastic. I love this. It's great. I'm sure that I don't, but I noticed that typically, my work days are not that stressful for the most part. I will say that the month of May, because it was the last month of our fiscal year, was stressful. But in general, my usual work days are not that stressful.
That's good.
So, it's just more when something is like, damn it, a customer isn't answering. I'm like, fuck, we got 3 days to do this. What the fuck? Come on, man. That is definitely more stressful, but not my job. Not my regular work day. No. So that's a good sign. At least for my health.
Well, at this point, I get up late. I take Alex to school. I bring
You,
Alex home from school. I walk the dog. I watch some TV.
I do
I
realize
do I
that
do
it that
other
it
things when I want to do other things. You know,
I do
I'm
realize that I've left to your own
very
devices
stressful.
right now at this point. You basically just not go back to work.
Oh, yeah. If I can find any fucking way to make that work and not like be homeless, absolutely. you know, and yeah. So we'll see. My best estimates at this point though are that you have to have a very optimistic scenario for how my portfolio does for the money to not run out before my expected lifetime. But yeah, so there has to be some delta, either significantly save money or have
Yeah,
some income.
yeah.
But
You gotta go. You gotta do one thing or another. Okay. Yeah.
uh,
Basically.
now there are scenarios where if my X company's stock does well enough, I'm absolutely fine. But again, you have to be very optimistic about like that
But
scenario.
what's the percentage return that you have calculated? Where if the return, if you had that average annual return, basically you could just say fuck it. Did you figure out that number?
I'll give you a rough estimate.
Yeah, like what the percentage? Yeah, it's like around what?
20 to 25% a year.
Fuck, that's high.
Yes, that's the number that would like
Now here's the question: what is the
wait,
historical return?
Well,
If you go to the last 10 years,
if you go to the last 10 years, it's more than that. But also that number is sort of to make it so that I can maintain my current expenses indefinitely and the balance stays roughly flat indefinitely, which is actually more than I need. Like I can have it go down. I just need it to like last until I'm in my 90s.
It go down slowly.
Right. Yeah. So
it's not impossible.
Anyway, it's not impossible, but on the other hand, the chances of the stock doing just as well in the next 20 years as it did in the last 20 years is not, most companies don't have a 50-year run that's all that good, at some point.
There is one thing. At some point, one thing that could be like a driver of improved returns, even though the company may not be growing as fast, is what's happened with some companies where they start basically buying back stock or paying dividends.
Right.
Okay, and so and that's what's happened with some of these large companies where you bought the stock and then you kept a lot of it for a long time. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, we're going to start returning cash to stockholders. Okay. Right. So the two ways that you do that is either you buy back stock or you pay dividends. The stock buyback, and you're like, well, how does that get me money? Well, the thing is that at some point what happens is that you cut down the number of shares outstanding. All right. Mm-hmm. And so what that does, it raises the price of all the other shares that are still trading, okay? Because, hey, you've got a pie. You're dividing it up, say, by 1 million shares, okay? But if you lower the number of shares outstanding to 750,000, just the simple numbers, that stock will go up. As a matter of fact, my employer did that several years ago on purpose, very aggressively, and doubled the price of the stock, even though the company wasn't really worth that much more in total.
Right.
Which is very interesting. So, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's not your scenario. Here's the thing. The scenario you're thinking about is not the scenario, oh, I need to win the lottery.
Right.
No, it's a scenario that's like possible, could be difficult, but it's not an impossible. It's not a it's just not a dream. Okay.
Right. And also like you know, the way, yeah, no, yes, and there are all kinds of modifiers you could put on top of that, and all kinds of behavioral stuff, but it also, the way these things work. It's very sensitive to what happens in the next few years too,
Correct.
as opposed to like, I would be able to better afford a crash if it happened 15 years from now than it happened this year.
My God. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That kind of thing. So so I gotta, but I'm watching. I gotta watch. I gotta figure out.
Here's an interesting thing I just saw about stock markets aside that we may talk about it later before we get to your movies, but might talk about Elon Musk, and I don't know. I really don't want to talk about him because he's a fucking asshole. Whatever. Fuck him. But there is this bank, there's this Brazilian bank called Nubank that actually is sponsoring this new soccer stadium that they built here. I never even heard of this thing, but it's apparently some kind of like the number one like virtual bank in Brazil. Okay. And it's in some other places. And then apparently, you remember years ago when we had Hawaii accidentally sent that missile alert?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So this bank did something similar where New Holdings co-founder Christina Junqueira apologized to New Bank customers who received an app alert telling them the bank had been liquidated, saying it was sent by mistake. Really bizarre, but that's exactly what it was, an operational error. Now, I'm sorry, but if I get a notice that Charles Schwab and Company or Fidelity are being liquidated, I would freak out. I would immediately go into a panic. So apparently this bank sent that in error to customers saying, we're being liquidated. That's not really the notice you want to get from your bank. So, anyway. All right.
Yeah.
Books and movies. What do we got?
Books and movies. I was getting distracted because at some point I had looked up the actual like last 20 years what the annual return of my ex company was every year, and I was going to look it up to actually give you a real number rather than a top of my head number. Okay, I think it's because I found lots of places with like monthly history and daily histories, and I thought I had it like right here in my like browser history, but I'm not finding it.
Let me see.
I think I probably slightly overstated how good it is done.
Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. I'm pulling it up. Let me see. Let me get the answer here. All right.
And this year had been doing really well until like the last month. It just like gave back several months of gains, which was annoying, but whatever. Yes, because of course I am extremely over-indexed in my old company's stock. So
let me see. Hold on. Well, as happens.
Yeah.
No, you're right. The annualized return for the last 20 years, split adjusted, 25.6%.
Yeah. So like if it continued to do that for the next 20 years, I'm set. I don't have to do a damn thing.
Let me see. I'll go back. That was 20 years. What about the last 10 years? Let's see. All right. Calculating. There we go.
But see,
the last 10 years has been only 21%.
That's still not bad.
No. That's still close.
I could make 20% work. But see, the thing is, you never know when a company that's been doing well for a long time decides to have a lost decade and be flat
agreed.
For 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. The last 5 years. You see, look, like the last 5 years has only been 12.5%. So that return has slowed down. Okay.
Right.
Over.
Although Yeah, although until the last few months, the last year was pretty damn good. It was like, but yeah, again, that's the whole problem. You can't assume that the past is telling you about the future because things
Right.
change. That's the whole thing.
Well,
But
look, let me put it this way about former employers. Look, Hewlett Packard, right? Hewlett Packard Enterprise, to be precise, which is the part of Hewlett Packard where I worked at. The stock had basically been, it went public at 883. It had been like as recently as a year ago at 15. Basically, it only had, over 10 years of returns have been meager. Okay, all right, pretty low. Okay, and then all of a sudden, after all of that, it went up to $48 this year.
mm-hmm.
But it spent, like you said, a decade where it was just range bound. I mean, it was like in 2018 it was 1754, and like last year it was at 1543, for example. I mean, it had not budged in like almost a decade, and
Right.
then boom.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so we shall see. I don't have I've still got runway, but at the same time, like, the runway will run out unless I get that, like,
Well,
really
you got to
nice
make some
scenario.
adjustments at some point.
So at some point, yes, live in a van by the river.
The van by the river.
Exactly, I can do that. Okay.
Hopefully people still remember that reference since we were old.
No, we're ancient. We're ancient. It's old.
Yeah. It's a very old reference. It's a 30-year-old reference, Sam, at this point. So think about this. A 30-year-old reference. If this was in 1985, these were people making references to us for shit that was happening in the 50s.
Should I share that thing I shared online that you gave a middle finger to? Okay.
Oh, God, yes, please.
Here we go.
Nice.
Hold on. Okay. Okay. So this is a Facebook friend shared this. It was from a Facebook account called Diary of a Mom. You see these things all the time, but I'm just going to read this one. And this refers.
Do you say diary of a mom or diarrhea of a mom? Because
Diary of a Mom, not diarrhea. Diary.
Okay, diary. Okay, got
Okay.
it. Okay, all right.
Now,
sounded like diarrhea, which is not.
this is a genre that I've seen fairly frequently, and this is specifically targeted directly at Gen X people who graduated high school around the same time as Yvonne and I did, plus or minus a couple years. Okay. My husband apparently woke up this morning itching for a fight. The first thing that man, who is a high school English teacher, said to me was, "I'm meeting my incoming freshman today." I know that seems innocent enough. Stay with me, friends. The next thing he said was, "They are the class of 30." Yes, that's 2030. That is when these babies will be graduating from high school. According to the calendar, that's only 4 years from today. I did the math just to be sure. This was bad enough, right? But then that man, the love of my life, said the following: "They are to us what we were to the class of 1944. I didn't believe him, but then I did the math, this time on my calculator, because my menopausal brain is oatmeal. But y'all, the maths. 1930 minus 1987 equals 43. 1987 minus 43 equals 1944.
Fuck.
So yeah, I'm not talking to that guy today. This was wholly unnecessary.
Yeah, well, my son is part of that class.
The class of 2030. Well,
2030, not 1930. 2030. Yeah, my son is part of the class of 2030. Yes.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's been a while.
Time keeps like doing that thing that time does. It's kind of annoying. And yeah, like that halfway point between World War II and now is pretty much when we were graduating from high school. Okay.
And only do my Whoop keeps recommending I do this. This actually works as box breathing. I go and like count breathe 1, 2, 3, 4, and it brings my stress down.
There you go. There you go. So next up, a book and a movie. Now this book, speaking of the 1940s, this is actually a book from the 1930s. But I listened to it as an audiobook. And I'm going to preface, before I talk about this specific book, that the last few audiobooks I've listened to, I'm seeming to have more of an issue than I used to, sort of focusing on the audiobooks and paying attention to them properly. Okay? Now, first of all, I'm not listening to them like every day either. So like, you know, I am commuting back and forth to my son's school, even though I'm not commuting to work right now. And so that does give time in the car. But I actually not all that often pick the audiobook. So I don't get the momentum of keeping up with it. And also I find myself not focusing on it. Like I've successfully listened to audiobooks in the past, but these last few, I just haven't. And I don't know if it's like the specific narrators of the audiobooks or if something else is going on, or just I can no longer pay attention to things, or I'm distracted by, actually driving, because that's when I listen to these. The only time I listen to things like this are either when I'm driving or when I'm doing household chores and I have it on my headphones. Those are like the two times. And so the last few that I've done, excuse me. So the last few that I've done, I found myself just sort of not feeling fully immersed in it, and by the time I get to the end, sort of feeling like I want to be done with this and move on to the next one. Okay. But I'm not 100% sure that the issue is the book itself, rather than I'm having trouble with the format. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay, so it's not the book. And
I mean,
and I've seen this happen, yeah.
It might be the book. I'm not sure, but it might just be the format. Anyway, this book from 1935 by Sinclair Lewis, It Can't Happen Here. Do you know of this book? It's kind of famous.
I must admit, I have complete ignorance.
So it is set in and this is somewhat timely, perhaps. It is set in a fictionalized version of the 1930s United States, following an American politician who quickly rises to power to become the country's first outright dictator, imitating Adolf Hitler's rise to power in Nazi Germany. And it follows a newspaper editor who sees what is happening for what they are ahead of time and becomes a big critic of him, etc. It was basically a critique of fascism pre-World War II. So in the 1930s, when Hitler was already in charge of Germany, but had not yet begun all of his expansionist crusades, and long before the U.S. became involved in the war, etc. And so it's basic. The title, It Can't Happen Here. It was basically a cautionary tale saying, hey, it could happen here. And it sort of outlined a scenario where it does. And so I'll give my usual, first couple paragraphs of the plot from Wikipedia. In 1936, American Senator Berzelius Buzz Windrip enters the presidential election campaign on a populist platform promising to restore the country to prosperity and greatness, Sound familiar at all?
Mm-hmm.
And promising each citizen $5,000 per year, equivalent to $116,000 in 2025, portraying himself as a champion of the forgotten man and traditional American values. Also sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Windrip
You
defeats
know,
in
you once again like show how we are so prone to repeat history and like we just forget it.
yeah. Um, Windrip defeats incumbent President Franklin D. Roosevelt for the Democratic nomination, and then beats his Republican opponent, Senator Walt Trowbridge, in the November election. Having previously foreshadowed some authoritarian measures to reorganize the government, Windrip outlaws dissent, incarcerates political enemies in concentration camps, and trains and arms a paramilitary force called the Minutemen, named after the Revolutionary War militias of the same name, who terrorize citizens and enforce the policies of a corporatist regime. One of Windrip's first acts as president is to eliminate the influence of Congress, which draws the ire of many citizens as well as the legislators themselves. The Minutemen respond to protests harshly, attacking demonstrators with bayonets. In addition to these actions, Windrip's administration, known as the Corpo government, curtails women and minority rights, eliminates individual states by subdividing the country into administrative sectors. The government of these sectors is managed by Corpo authorities, usually prominent businessmen or Minutemen officers. Those accused of crimes against the government appear before kangaroo courts presided over by military judges. A majority of Americans approve of these dictatorial measures, seeing them as painful but necessary steps to restore American power. And then it continues, and basically, spoiler, it goes all the way through this guy's administration until the outbreak of a new civil war that eventually overthrows the fascists. So that's a spoiler for the end of this 91-year-old book. And, you know, I'll say, like I said, I don't know if it was the audiobook format and the way that I was reading it. I wanted to like this because I wanted to be like, hey, look at all the parallels to the current time. Look at this cautionary tale. And, you know, yes, things haven't gotten quite as bad as in this book right now, but, you know, there's tendencies in that direction, and it's a cautionary tale, and I wanted to like really get into it and like it. What I found myself actually doing was mixing up. There were a whole lot of characters in a whole lot of different settings, and I couldn't keep them straight. And I was like, "Well, who is this
the narrator
in
this time?
How is he involved in this?
Listen,
like, what's this guy?"
You remind me. There was this episode of Seinfeld where George was supposed to read a book, but
yes,
and the book was not available normally as an audio book. But
right.
apparently, he found that there is this place that has books for the blind.
Okay.
And that they had the book, but you know, you had to be blind. Okay, right? So he gets the book. So he gets the book and he starts listening to it, but the voice is annoying and it really sounds like him. And it drives him nuts because it's like, this is the worst narration in history. I can't, you know, I don't want to listen to you know, to me reading a book, you know, for 2 days. So I don't know. Maybe it's just the style of the narrator.
I mean, it could have been. I mean, the one reason that makes me think it's the format is like the last several audiobooks I've completed, I've had this sort of feeling, you know, and at one point I was like, okay, it's the guy's accent. I just couldn't get into it because of the guy's accent or the woman's accent. I forget which it was. This time, I don't think he had I don't know that the voice was particularly annoying. But I still, I don't know. And after I finish this one, I have started, actually, I think I've started 2 since then. Anyway, the one I'm currently on that I've just started not that long ago, I'm only like a chapter in, and I'm already starting to feel this way about it. You know, so I don't know. But, you know, again,
Listen.
Despite
I think that
despite
has
the voice,
to be. Yeah.
despite the voice and all that, it is also a scenario where there were a lot of characters with a lot of names and different settings, and I was having trouble sort of mentally keeping track of who was who and how they were related to each other. And look, I've read big complicated books before and not felt that way though, so I don't know, but it might be a combination of that plus like the format, and also like again adding to it, like I'm trying to listen to it while I'm doing something else that requires partial attention, and I'm only listening to like half an hour every couple weeks instead of listening to it every day. So by the time I'm opening it up again, I've sort of half forgotten what happened last time. I don't know, some combination of those things. So I'm going to give it a thumb sideways. I don't want to give it a straight thumbs down. It had some interesting ideas. It's got good parallels to today. It's probably worth reading in that context. I just didn't get into the audiobook version of it. I don't know.
Oh, well.
So, oh well.
Look, I one of the few. I haven't listened to a lot of audiobooks. I mean, I for the most part, I've read books, but I'm not big on audiobooks. But the one audiobook that I did listen to from end to end was the one that you gifted me.
Oh, I gifted you an audiobook?
Oh, a long time ago in the 90s, by the way. Okay, yes. You gifted me Atlas Shrugged as an audiobook.
You know,
which I had not read. And so you gifted it to me,
okay.
and I did hear it, and it was on tapes. And I remember that this is the 90s, okay? I listened to it in the car.
I did read it once back then too.
Yeah, but I did not read it, but I did listen to the audiobook, and it was well narrated. Okay? It was actually very, how do I say? It was very engaging. So I listened to it.
This of course, by the way, for those who don't immediately recognize it off the top of your heads, it's by Ian Rand, and it's like one of these cult libertarian books.
Yeah,
it's
one of those. Yes, it is such a cult libertarian.
I have heard people say, like, quote, that like teenage boys, especially in our generation, would end up either reading The Lord of the Rings or Atlas Shrugged, and either way they'd get screwed up by it, but just in a different way. Well,
I wasn't a teenager when I
wasn't a teenager when I read this.
But I when I finished, I thought it was very silly.
Mm.
My conclusion was, this thing is very silly. This is done by an idiot. This is silly.
Well, because apparently, like this is like the key thing where all kinds of like kids would read this and then become radical libertarians after reading it, and basically like the summary, the high level.
The glorification. The book glorifies the Elon Musk types, like they are the geniuses and gods of the earth, basically.
And it basically has a whole bunch of these sort of industrialist leaders who they are the thinkers and they drive society, and they eventually get like disgusted by regulation and society trying to control them and blah, blah, blah. And then they shrug. Atlas shrugs. They decide to go off and found their own little isolated society.
Which is why all these assholes are trying to find and found their own city. Did you notice that they're all trying to do this now? Just like an Atlas Shrugged, where they're trying to go. They did this in a place in like Central America. It turned into a fucking disaster. And they've tried like on a whole bunch of different places, and it's always a fucking disaster.
It never works out.
It never.
Because if you get a bunch of like the people who would think to do this, almost by definition, are egotistical maniacs who are narcissistic and think only of themselves.
Correct.
What better way to have something rip itself apart than to put a whole bunch of these people together in one place?
Yeah.
Because none of them want to be the non-leader. They all want to be in charge. They all want to do their own thing. They're all going to be bumping heads all the time. They don't have a natural instinct for, hey, let's figure out how to cooperate and do things for the benefit of everyone. No. And so instead, these things tend to like fail badly when people try them. Yes.
So,
yes.
Apparently, Trump did a Truth Social post where I guess he threatened to use nukes
again
against Iran again.
That's lovely. Okay, let's finish this up. We've been going long enough. I will do one quick movie. This from 1997, The Legend of the Spirit Dog. Now, have you heard of this one?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Well, to give you an idea of how prominent this movie is in the world.
Okay.
It was not available on any of the streaming services I could find. Nobody had put it on YouTube. It was not available on Blu-ray. It was not available on DVD. We watched it on VHS. Okay. Now, it does not have a Wikipedia page, so I cannot read a summary of it on Wikipedia. Now, how
did this movie wound up on your list?
Well, there you go. We already had the VHS tape.
Oh.
And
but not,
the reason
your VHS still works?
Yes, I have a working VHS hooked up in my entertainment center. We don't use it often, but it is there and it works. Now, the reason we already had this VHS tape, I can't remember if it's an aunt. I think it's a cousin. One of Brandy's cousins is in this movie.
Oh,
my wife Brandy Donaghy.
Okay, that's
her relative Maggie Donaghy plays Earth Sedona in this movie. So we had the VHS. I've had this VHS on a shelf in our house practically since the day Brandy moved in with me like 25 years ago. Something like that. We had never watched it.
Okay, so so
it was now time to watch it.
It was now time to watch it. Okay. Wow.
Exactly. And so we watched this. So, what to say about this movie? First of all, I have an IMDb summary, which is only
there is an IMDb
line.
Summary.
It is only a single line. A young boy in Alaska becomes involved with the legendary battle between a raven and a wolf.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Now, I watched this last July, so my memories have already faded somewhat of this movie. But the fundamental thing is this kid in Alaska. He's got a single mom, kid in Alaska. There's a dog that he interacts in the wilderness, and like it says, there's a raven. Now these are both, you can tell for the title, the spirit dog. They are real, but they're like mystical as well. So this dog and this raven have like supernatural powers of some sort.
Okay.
And there's also a background battle going on between some, like, I forget if it was oil drilling or minerals or mining or what, but there was some big corporation that was basically out, raping the pristine wilderness of Alaska and disrupting the lives of the wildlife, disrupting the life of, Native Americans who lived there, all of this kind of stuff. And the kid, somehow assisted by these supernatural powers, figures out the mystery behind the things that the corporation was doing in secret, because they were saying they were doing one thing, but they were actually doing things that were much more evil. and somehow they solve the mystery, and spoilers, they prevent the company from doing what it was going to do in the end. Um, this is very okay. Pretty low budget.
Okay.
Pretty sure it was made for TV, although I'm not 100% sure of that.
Okay.
It miscellaneous sort of low budget semi psychedelic special effects when they go on like spirit journeys and stuff like this.
Okay.
And no offense to my wife's cousin, mediocre acting, you know. And it was a thing. It was just really you end it and you're like, what the hell did I just watch? It's
So
sort of that
I take it that
experience.
you're giving it a thumbs down.
I'm giving it between a thumbs sideways and a thumbs down. It was one of those bad in an amusing way sort of things, as opposed to bad. You know. So, and I will also point out that as we were watching this, we were trying to keep our eyes out for my wife's cousin.
Right.
We didn't realize which character she was until afterwards when we looked it up.
Ah. Was
'Cause,
she disguised?
Well, first of
Or
all,
too young, or so long ago?
she
you
was
didn't
young
recognize
enough.
her?
She was young enough that my wife didn't directly recognize her, but also
Okay.
I think like there was like lots of
Makeup.
Was there makeup
Yeah,
and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
like there was.
I mean, that would do it. I mean,
and
movie,
wear
there are usually
and a costume that wasn't like
Right.
I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
So it was like it wasn't directly like yeah, but we looked it up and figured oh was it that person? Okay, I guess so. And anyway, I would say, well no, you don't need to go check it out. But even if you wanted to go check it out, this thing's hard to find.
I don't think I'm going to go look for it. Given
I,
how difficult you made it. First of all,
I could mail you the VHS.
Well, here's the thing. I think I still might have the VHS, but it's not plugged in.
Right.
And I don't have a way right now that I can plug it in.
Because you like when you install these things, you have them all like all the cords.
No.
No,
That's not the reason. The reason is that I don't have a system that has the right inputs to take that kind of video source anymore.
Oh, well,
everything that I've got is,
Well, I'll give you two things. One,
well, I'm sure that I can get an adapter. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
But,
you can get an adapter.
Yeah,
for like
you get an
$20.
adapter. But like right now, I guess I can get an adapter. But like right now, if I wanted to watch it, I can't because it's not plugged in. Everything I've got right now, the last time I upgraded the AV receiver, basically I made it that I have no other inputs other than HDMI. And so
yeah, I think mine still has. Mine has a lot of HDMI inputs. It has like 6 or 8. I forget how many. A lot. But it's got legacy inputs too. So it's got a bunch.
But I mean I don't know. But how old is yours like right now? Because I think my previous one had that. But this one I got not that long ago, and I basically said fuck.
Between 5 and 10 years, we replaced.
Yeah.
it
So it's like yeah. So this one is much newer than that, and I was just like. It's got no. Yeah, I think it's got. It's like it doesn't have any. Yeah, but
if we got one today, I'll tell you. Like, we have a turntable hooked up to it.
Oh, it's got for that. Yeah, which is audio.
Wait.
Yeah,
we've got a turntable. We've got a cassette deck hooked up to it. We've got a VHS.
It does have for analog audio, but
I will say
not video.
Of those legacy devices, the only one we have actually used is the VHS. I can't remember ever, other than running it once or twice to test it when we first hooked it up. Nobody's played a vinyl record and no one's played a cassette. Even once. we have watched a couple of VHS tapes. So, yeah.
I don't even. I mean, I got rid of all that.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that. I just, it's all gone. It's all done. It's gone.
I can see a variety of reasons why at some point or another, VHS come one like it's only once every couple of years or something that we watch a VHS, but it happens. So if I upgraded again, I would want to make sure I had a way to hook up the VHS. It could be an adapter, but I would want to have something. Okay, we have gone way too long.
Yeah, but we started kind of with the news.
We did, but let's take a break. This will be an Apple Dream. And after the Apple Dream, we will talk newsy stuff for the rest of the show. Okay, here comes the Apple Dream.
So in this one, just as background, I haven't been able to play Wordle with my son and other people for a while because we had gone back in time because we'd missed a Myrtle or two. Wordle, not Myrtle. Myrtle would be something different. And because we'd been going back in time because we missed a couple, but then my son wanted to do something else before he did more, so we got further and further and further back in time, and then my Wordle lost its scores, and I know you can reset them using this tool, but I haven't done it yet, and he hasn't wanted to go back yet, so we haven't done any Wordles. So anyway, I was dreaming that my friend Yvonne knew this and had sent me to a Wordle clone, but this particular Wordle clone, you did the Wordle live at the same time as the other person, and there was video, so you could see each other working on your Wordle. And so I was doing that while I was walking down the street in some city. And he got his Wordle, and I started my Wordle with to thank him for the thing, because I guess you could see each other's guesses as you went, and so that was part of the race. You could see each other. So I am describing a game that would actually be kind of cool. Developers out there, live Wordle, see each other's guesses, race, see each other's video while you do it. I'm just saying. Anyway, then I woke up. Bye.
I fully expected you to come out in like a Steve Ballmer-ish like kind of way and like go developers, but no.
Yeah, exactly. Alex left a comment on that TikTok about how he's trying to get me to actually make this thing. And
Okay.
back when I originally recorded it seemed completely out of the realm of possibility. Now with all the vibe coding tools, I'm like, yeah, maybe I could. Maybe I could make the
Look,
damn thing.
I coded a fucking app already. I wasn't even trying to do this. I did that. How are you trying to?
Yeah. I mean, it still would be a little tricky because it's multi-user and you'd want people interacting in real time and blah blah blah.
You could mock it up at least.
No, and I still kind of like that because I've done it in person.
I checked what inputs my receiver has. 7 HDMI, 3 RCA, 1 phonograph input, 2 of the optical digital inputs, 1 coax digital input, and a USB-A port, and Ethernet. But no, you see, no like coaxial video, and no RCA video either. Okay. Just only audio only. Okay. So I could hook up a tape deck. I can hook up a record player, but I can't. I straight out of the box. I can't hook up a VCR.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, like I said, adapters are out there, and they're not very expensive.
Yeah.
So I should send you this VHS tape in the mail and give you homework that you have to watch this thing.
I'm okay. I'm fine. Thank you.
Are you sure? There's a dog
I'm sure.
and a
Yeah.
thing and
I'm pretty sure. I'm sure.
trippy little psychedelic visions and stuff.
I'm pretty sure. I think I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Now, with that, what's the first newsy thing you want to hit? Why don't you do one and I do one, and then by the time we're done with that, we'll probably be done with the show.
Yeah, because that's. I mean, we already covered one. Fuck me. Let's see. We had. Let's talk about another Trump defeat.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
This has been a theme, Sam. Trump is, and this is something that happens usually with second-term presidents, especially when their popularity is going into the shitter. That slush fund thing that he was trying to do, basically wound up getting torpedoed. I mean, I don't see how he part of that tax settlement that he did. Which, by the way, speaking of taxes, I don't know, I can't remember if I posted this on the Slack or not. The fact that I was trying to get somebody at the IRS on the phone, and because of the Republican cutbacks, is basically impossible, Sam. There's just no, I mean, there's no way to get to talk to anybody at the IRS right now. I basically had to write my congressman, and they said that they were going to go check on me right now because I have not, my tax return has not been processed since February.
Okay.
I mean, not processed. All right? It's not like they checked it and they had errors, they had objections. It's simply not been processed. Okay, at this point. But as part of, Trump getting his way with everything, he was getting this sweetheart settlement now that, we're going to bar no investigations, no more tax audits of Trump that he can't get on in the past, and then I'm not going to take the $10 billion, but he's going to create that $1.6 billion slush fund. And basically the judge, it wound up that then they backed off and said, no, we're not going to do it. But I guess the judge actually passed, a ruling saying that they can't do it. Plus, it got defeated in Congress too, right? They weren't able to get it through, right?
Well, they weren't able to get explicit funding for it. The Trump administration was arguing that they could do it anyway.
Right.
But they were losing.
But now they got the legal ruling on the other side anyway.
They got now. The thing is, there's still stuff going back and forth in court, and one of the reasons that people are like, yeah, they say it's not going forward, but then why are they still fighting it in court?
Well, because they want it.
Right. And so...
Even though they say they don't, they do.
Right.
I mean, that's the reality.
And apparently, a lot of the people who were expecting that they would get money out of this thing are still being told behind the scenes that one way or another, the administration will figure out some way to get them money. If it's not this, it'll be something else.
Well, I think that one thing is that they have to look. Yeah, but it's like my whole point is that the avenues for him are getting. Look, he's been losing these now. Okay, he wasn't just able to. Last year it was getting shit through like without any problems, and now he's getting active opposition to a lot of shit that he's trying to do. And the reality is that when you're at your approval rating from Republicans, and when your approval rating is in the shitter like his is, it makes it a lot easier for Republicans to oppose him. Like right now. So yeah, I mean, it seems like to a certain extent the tide is turning in a certain way against him, like right now, for a whole bunch of this stuff. And I'm happy. Thank God. I mean, fuck Trump. I mean, this is good.
Yes.
I mean, we had that name come down last night. Then he's got, the slush fund gets problematic, and then it's just it's good. It's good. I'm liking this.
Yeah, I was just looking at. I just picked up the Economist version of approval averages. There are a lot of good ones out there.
Yeah. Economist is a good one.
They have him now at -25 net approval.
Fuck. That's historically bad, isn't it?
Yeah, compared the same time in his first term, he was at -10. The same time in Biden's term, he was -11.
Right.
Yeah, and that's bad. Now I've seen people say that he is still doing better than Nixon in the last week before he resigned.
Wow! I'm still ahead of Nixon! That's something I want on my wall of accomplishments.
Now I haven't recently self-verified that, but I did hear that. So yeah.
Well, that's okay.
One of 538 used to have a nice comparison of this, but they're gone.
Well, they got over at the Silver Bulletin.
Yes, they have it.
I mean, yeah, he's got the approval things up there.
The comparison to old presidencies.
I think. Hang on, let me see. I don't actually.
I'm looking at Silver Bulletin right now. Well,
the Silver Bulletin.
Trying to find it.
Let's see.
I don't see the comparison to.
No, I don't. No, I don't. No, he's got the approval rating, but not.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. He doesn't have the.
So I've seen somebody put up a new one somewhere, but I can't remember where it is. But the old 538 had the approval ratings, and right below it had the comparisons to every president going back to Truman. And that was nice. And that's not there.
We see him in Real Clear Politics. No, they don't have the comparisons.
Right.
Oh, Biden job approval, Trump first term job, Obama, Bush job approval. But no, they don't have. No, not that far back. No.
Yeah. So somebody has it. I don't know.
It's bad. Listen, this is bad. It's bad. His approval rating is bad. And I don't think that, by the way, bathing all these statues around Washington in gold is going to ingratiate him to anybody.
No?
No.
Well, for the moment, he's gold plating lions and horses and crap.
Right.
But and we've got the Arc de Trump or whatever that he wants to build that'll block the view of Arlington.
Listen,
Cemetery.
listen. How is the construction of the ballroom going right now?
I'm just saying, we do not yet have the 50-foot tall statue of Donald Trump that's gold plated. I'm sure that's coming.
I mean, I've seen mock-ups of it.
I've seen mock-ups. To be fair, by other people, I think, not by Trump himself. But he's probably reposted them.
I think so.
He has reposted AI photos of him added to Mount Rushmore.
Yes, he has. So I'm sure, yeah, he's probably reposted a gold statue of himself.
Yes, and
look, I was looking for some shoes for Manu. And I saw that at Macy's, they have Trump's favorite shoes, Florsheim's.
Okay.
Here's I looked over here because I went to Nordstrom where I usually buy my shoes. I was looking for shoes at his size. Inflation. Let me just say inflation, because I'm just look, I don't want to buy expensive shoes for Manu not because I wouldn't buy expensive shoes for Mono is because he's growing. He's going to outgrow them real quick. Okay?
Right.
So it doesn't make any sense. Okay? For me to buy him a pair, I would buy a more expensive shoe if, I know he's going to use them for 10 years or something like I normally do. Okay? But the Florsheim's are $100. Any dress shoe at Nordstrom really starting is $800 right now. $800. Yeah, no. But Trump is gifting $100 shoes. This cheap bastard.
I'm sorry. I have my Skechers. I love them. They cost a lot less than that, and I'm happy with them. I do have one pair of the shiny kind that I got for some event I was going to last year. I don't like them. I'll wear them if I have to. I'm not even sure where in the house they are right now. They're probably in my closet. I hope, But I'm sure. I'm sure even then, I might have spent $100, but I'm not going to go higher.
But let me tell you something. Those $800, $900, $1,000 shoes right now. I will say that not even 10 years ago, they were like $600. And so that's how much inflation has really hit us in the last decade. Okay, where that's where that's at. Okay, so
yeah, I can just say I don't get it.
They last a long time. No, number one, the shoes do last a long time, and I use them a lot. Okay, you don't use those. Those shoes. You barely use them. Listen, the last time I bought a pair of $130, $150 shoes that I used regularly, and I walk a lot in them, they actually cut my feet. Literally, I was bleeding. I literally wound up coming. Yeah, I literally came back from a business trip with my feet bleeding, and I basically threw them in the trash. And I said, no, I will spend more money for shoes.
Yeah. No, I get cheaper shoes, but I fully admit,
you're not going to use them very much.
Well, no, I'm talking about my Skechers.
Those are comfy.
They're comfy, and I don't expect them to last years.
Oh, but these are exactly. Yeah.
I replace them on a regular basis. I'll buy a couple pair a year. I mean, not that I'm killing them in 6 months usually, but I usually have spares. So, I usually keep the ones I wear every day, and I keep a spare. The reason for the spare is for when I inevitably step in dog shit. And then I can just swap out to the clean pair. And sometimes,
there is.
And then I'll hose down the old shoes and wait for them to dry.
Okay, very few things are as unpleasant as stepping on dog shit. It really is one of the most unpleasant things to do. I haven't done it in a long time, but fuck, I still have vivid memories of the last time I did it, which happened in Buenos Aires, of all places, walking on the sidewalk, because people tended to not clean up after their dogs on the fucking sidewalk.
Well,
and walking back to the office, oh, God. And
I'll tell you, there is a difference. Same general genre, but there is something that you can do to make it even more unpleasant.
Oh.
And that is stepping on dog shit barefoot.
Oh, God. What are you, RFK Jr.? What are we doing?
Well, this has not been much of a problem lately, but we used to have a problem with one of our dogs repeatedly going inside.
In the house. Yeah.
In the house. Yes. And you would often discover this at the moment you stepped in.
Oh, God. Okay, let's change the subject.
Luckily,
I think everybody already turned off the podcast at this moment.
Hey, we have one person on the live stream right now.
Oh, God. That person's about to tune us out, right now at this moment.
Right. Okay. So I shouldn't pivot to dog vomit.
No!
Start talking about
No!
Okay, so are you done with the Trump
Trump sucks.
Trump,
Okay,
Trump
and Trump is down. Trump is downhill. And by the way, I don't know. I thought about mentioning it, but I don't know why. Trump said that we're gonna have an Iran deal tomorrow. I don't fucking believe it. Believe it for 1 second. He says we're signing it tomorrow. Blah blah blah. He threatened to nuke. Also threatened to nuke him.
Yeah, yes, a couple of outlets have now done charts of how often Donald
We're gonna have
Trump
a deal.
has said that. Did I share one on the Curmudgeon?
Yes, you did. You did.
I'm scrolling back looking for it.
It was like 30 some odd times.
It was more than that. Okay, here we go. This is one that was from which outlet did this? Washington Post. Here's a chart from the Washington Post as of June 9th. So this was as of 4 days ago as we're recording it. And it was up to 29 as of June 9th. The first one was on March 23rd. And they've got these color-coded as to which ones were public appearances, which one were Truth Social, which ones were phone calls or interviews. And these were all comments of very close. So, like, here we go. March 23rd. Almost all points of agreement. March 24th. I think we're going to end it. March 24th. Iran desperate to cut a deal. March 25th. Iran wants to make a deal so badly. March 26th. Iran is begging to make a deal. Let me skip ahead like 20 or some of these and do the last 5 on this chart. June 7th. Very close to having a deal. June 7th, very close to a final deal. June 8th, total victory in the next 2 weeks. June 8th, victory. They want to make a very good deal. June 8th again, they're willing to give us everything.
Everything, Sam. Everything. Everything.
And so as of today, apparently either we're going to nuke them or they're going to sign a deal tomorrow. One of the above.
One of the above. It's so ridiculous. It's the most preposterous fucking who we are. This is the worst fucking. I mean, he makes Reagan. Listen. It's just, no, Reagan was. I mean, even Reagan didn't fall asleep this much. Plus,
right.
He actually had a lot of people in his staff that were smart.
Well, yes.
I mean, he did do that one time that he did. You don't remember when he went to Gorby and they almost got
rid of nukes.
Right.
Yes, they were this close. And actually, that time, apparently, they really were.
They really were.
And both sides got pulled back by their advisors of like, what the hell are you about to do?
Right.
Yeah, now we all know he's surrounded by incompetent yes men. And even when he gets advice that is actually good, he ignores it.
Yep.
And anyone who has the gall to tell him he might be wrong about anything is gone almost immediately.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
First they tend to get ignored and shoved to the side, and then eventually they're gone. Like Tulsi Gabbard, for instance. Mm-hmm. It took a few months before she actually left, but it was clear that she was being ignored for months before that. So
are we gonna shed a tear for Tulsi?
Well, I feel bad for her. Her husband has cancer. I still feel bad for that, you know. And
I guess, but
fairly
still,
aggressive, bad kind, and you know.
I mean, she's still a complete sellout.
Yes, well. Anyway, shall we move on to something else?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you explicitly said you did not want to talk about this, but I think we have to.
Why?
Well, we don't have to, but I'm going to anyway. I am going to force the discomfort upon you. SpaceX went public. Our friend Elon Musk who bankrolls this show, as you all know, is now a trillionaire. The world's first trillionaire. Now, I haven't checked these inflation-adjusted ancient people like that guy who was king of Timbuktu 1,000 plus years ago.
Excluding monarchy, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, because you don't want to include monarchs. I mean, it doesn't.
Well,
I don't know.
But even inflation adjusted, apparently, I think if he's not at the top, he's damn near close to richest people of all time, even including monarchies.
This, as the IPO happened, an investment firm published this thing saying how they believe that the stock is like overvalued like 400%, and that it's ridiculous, but they were still buying it anyway. And this is the kind of shit that gets. Musk is a trillionaire, not on the basis.
I have to say this. I did look up. Somebody updated their list of historical all-time richest people, inflation adjusted, after the IPO yesterday. So they apparently first put out their list in 2010. This is from a site called Celebrity Net Worth. Now, I will caveat before I read this that last time I looked into this, I found 4 or 5 sites that had tried to do this, and they all had different lists because they used different methodology.
Yeah.
For how you determine what is state wealth versus what is individual wealth for those who were like monarchs and stuff. And also, how do you do the inflation adjustment calculation over, 2,000 years or something, instead of they're fairly standard methods for doing that over 50 years. But if you want to
how do you do it? But back to say the rulers of Spain, in when they had the entire free the Western Hemisphere and gold reserves. I don't know, how do you compare that to today?
Anyway, this particular person is at celebritynetworth.com, updated June 12th, and their new top 10. Number 1, Elon Musk at over $1 trillion. Number 2, John D. Rockefeller, founder of Standard Oil, $630 billion in inflation-adjusted dollars. Number 3, someone close to our hearts, Andrew Carnegie, $459 billion. Then number 4, the person I was talking about, Mansa Musa, ruled the Mali Empire, controlled an immense gold and salt trade quite a few centuries ago, $400 billion. Number 5, Jacob Fugger, $400 billion, a German banker, merchant, and mining pioneer. I'll do the top 10, then I'll stop. Number 6, your good friend, Larry Ellison, $395 billion. Number 7, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, $300 billion. Number 8, Larry Page, Google co-founder, $293 billion. Number 9, Jeff Bezos, Amazon founder, $280 billion. Number 10, the other Google co-founder, Sergey Brin, $275 billion. Honorable mention, number 11, Mark Zuckerberg, $250 billion. There you go.
If there
sorry, I interrupted you when you were going through the timeline of the IPO.
Not so much the timeline. I was just talking about how so many people, actually, analysts and others, basically said this thing is ridiculous. It's stupidly overvalued. The numbers don't make any sense. Oh, we're gonna buy it anyway. Right. And this is how this guy is a fucking trillionaire. It's not because he's built anything that is worth anywhere near what the fuck it is. For all the talk about Steve Jobs' reality distortion machine, holy fucking hell is Elon Musk the king of the reality distortion machine.
Yeah, I've heard people estimate that the an actual properly valued version of this would be like what, maybe half of what they're actually talking?
Not even.
Not even?
No.
Okay. And because it's got a number of stacked businesses, because it's SpaceX, but then he brought in the AI stuff. Twitter is now folded in there somewhere
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Although Twitter's a tiny part of things. Um, and various other things. I guess Tesla's separate still, but like I'm sure it'll merge them at some point. Um, and each one of these, if you look at them individually, are it's not again it's the reality distortion field that gets you the value, not the on the book stuff.
There is nothing on the books to justify anything like what the books tell you is, I mean, at least 90% less what the fuck this thing is worth. At least.
Oh, 90%. That's
90%.
Like I said, yeah, okay.
At least. There is nothing in here worth $2 trillion. Maybe 200 billion.
Now, come on, Yvonne. Everybody's gambling that he's going to successfully go to the moon and Mars.
Hey, Sam, how many robo-taxis are there out there on the streets?
Oh, you shared this not that long ago. I forget. Give me the number.
It's around 50. And by the way, they don't work very well. None of them work very well. Repeatedly fail. Repeatedly don't get people to where they're going.
Uh-huh. So they're not as good as that other one.
No.
The Google one.
The Waymo one. Yeah.
Waymo,
no.
yeah.
No. So that's the shit. Other than, how are we making $2 trillion out of launching rockets to Mars? You want to fucking explain to me what the business proposition here is?
Okay, Yvonne, we are going to build the Mars colony, and Elon will basically own it as a personal, like we were saying, like the people wanting to make their own kingdoms where they can run their own laws. Elon's is going to be on Mars, and it's going to be the replacement for Earth once Earth destroys itself, and so it will be the entirety of the human economy in another 30, 40 years. So there you go.
Oh, in 30, 40 years. Oh, I see.
Yeah. Like we have to, I mean, I was going to say we have to keep it within Elon's lifetime, but I'm sure he's working on immortality too.
Listen, many decades ago, the reason why the space race died is because we kept going to these planets and we didn't find anything worth any money actually to fucking do up there, or to do it in a way that would be financially feasible anyway. Okay. I mean, it's not like, there is this TV show I watch For All Mankind on Apple TV, which is a great TV show, but a lot of it is how they're mining and how they're, mining on the moon, mining in Mars, and that's how they make money. How they brought an asteroid that had all this iridium, I think it was, and how they mined it and brought it over. Okay, that's the money angle. I haven't found anybody who's told me, okay, great, we go to Mars, and how's this profitable in any way? How do we make money out of this? Other than, yay, we went to Mars. What? It's all based on tourism?
We're permanent colonies, Yvonne. Permanent colonies to replace the Earth when Earth dies.
Okay, it's going to die in 30 years. That's so we're going to kill off the Earth in 30 years.
Well, presumably. Like, again, I brought it down to 30 years because I was thinking in Elon's lifetime. But then, again, I'm sure he's working on immortality, so it might be okay if it's a little bit longer before the Earth goes
40.
boom. 40, yeah. So.
Okay, there is no, this is just ridiculous. And I predict that this thing will eventually crash. Like every single one of these things has it historically crashed.
Well, I mean, more generally, I saw someone pull some stats on IPOs in general. There's usually a dip before they start going up. I mean, obviously, there are a lot of companies that eventually become very successful. But usually, in the first year or so, they're down by quite a bit.
By quite a bit?
Because you have the original pre-IPO
Cashing out.
stockholders cashing out.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's not uncommon to see a 50% drop in the first year. You know, and then depending on the business, sometimes they go up again after that. But, you know, now let me ask though, another thing that people have been quite concerned about is the fact that this is big enough that it will, and there was some question on timing and whether it would be sooner rather than later, but apparently it's going to be back to sort of the normal later.
The normal, yeah.
But because of his size, this will be included in lots of index funds.
That's right.
You have S&P index funds, you have all market funds, you have all sorts of index funds that will be included, that will automatically include this once we get to a certain point of time past where we are now. Which means once that hits, there's going to be massive, essentially automated purchases of this that will then presumably drive it up at that point, but then potentially crash again after. And then suddenly, all sorts of people who have just invested in, you know, hey, I'm just going into, you know, an S&P index fund because that's nice and safe.
So
all of a sudden,
let me give you some perspective. Okay, let me give you some perspective. Apple's worth about $3-4 trillion. Okay.
Yeah.
Apple has over 200 billion of annual revenue, over 50 billion a quarter, 100 billion in annual cash flow. Okay, 100 billion, over 100 billion in annual cash flow. SpaceX 2025 revenue, $18 billion for the whole year. They're expecting maybe 19 point something billion this year. Not a lot of growth. So also very little growth. It had a $5 billion loss. Loss. Not profit. Sam, not profit. Loss.
Right.
It had negative $7 billion in EBITDA. And it's valued at basically almost the same as Apple. You want to fucking tell me how the hell anybody's going to make money off of this shit? Because I can't do... There is no math on this earth based on anything of sound financial analysis that gets me to that valuation.
So once it gets included, what does this do to all these index funds?
It doesn't do that much. It won't do that much. You got to remember there's a whole bunch of trillion-dollar companies right now in the damn stock market. You know, like Aramco, Apple, Nvidia, Google, Microsoft. You know, they're not bigger than those are. So it'll do something, but it's not going to like take any of the indices hostage. It's just going to have an impact on it. It is what it is. You know, okay. And I'm going to guess, and my guess is that by the time
the collapse of this eventually is not going to take down the rest of everything.
Look, I don't know. You know, having something of this size collapse will have collateral damage.
And I'm guessing you're thinking it eventually does collapse. If nothing else, at some point
Sam,
Elon dies.
There's the fucking numbers, Sam. The goddamn financials it doesn't compute.
But we've decoupled these things from reality, haven't we?
For Elon, yes. Not for everybody else. Not that I like talking about our company stock, but let's be clear. Our company announced record revenue, profits, or whatever, and, because of concerns about capital investment, the stock went down. It went down. This guy announces, I don't know, this shit, and he's up 20%.
Yvonne, you just sound jealous.
If I had this, maybe, okay, maybe I would like to have this kind of level of influence on people where I could just talk out of my ass and all of a sudden, hey, look, Robin Leonard, check this out. Look, whatever. $3 trillion. Here you go. Yes, Ivan, yes. I'll put Sam out there in a space suit. I'll put Alex out there in another space suit, and, Manu's in another, suit. All three of you in a spacesuit while I'm out there, just mumbling nonsense, talking about synergies and, exponential growth and, bullshit. And yes, okay. All right, maybe I would like to have that kind of power.
You get on that, Yvonne. I expect you to deliver on this promise. I give you 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
You've got, I want a Trump deadline right now. Okay. All
exactly.
Right.
2 weeks.
Okay. Well, you're tasked with destroying my employer in a few weeks as well. So therefore, we got our work cut out.
There you go.
It's just the most ridiculous bullshit, Sam. I will say this. I have had, and this is historically where I remember some of the things that have most annoyed me. It's like when I've seen these people get promoted at the company that have continuously failed. And yet they get promoted at places where I've worked, okay? And this is the same. It's the same shit. This guy has failed to deliver on so many things over and over and over, okay? Mm-hmm. And even when he's delivered some things, the success has been exaggerated many times on whatever success he has done, okay? And he just keeps getting rewarded over and over for this shit.
Yes, he does.
But look, I've seen people like these go on 10, 20-year streaks.
Yeah.
Okay? And then all of a sudden, kaboom. Okay? I was remembering there was this guy in Brazil that at one point was one of the richest people in the world, called Ike Batista. Okay? I love that name. Okay. This guy at some point was worth over $100 billion. Okay? All right? And then, I don't know, one day, the rug got pulled out from under him and everything crashed. He went from being worth $100 billion to having negative net worth in what seemed like the flip of a switch.
Right.
Now, the one thing is that obviously a lot of people have a vested interest in continuing to prop up Elon Musk's worth. And that's part of it. This is how this is almost like become a self-fulfilling, thing, because
it's very similar to the Donald Trump situation, to be honest, where people hitch themselves to that star,
right,
and then they were going to ride that as long as they possibly can, even when it's obvious that the person they're following is
insane.
I think this is true of Elon as much as it is of Donald Trump. He clearly has some personality issues that he really just should. You just see a therapist and leave us all out of it, right? But
yes.
You know, and like you said, he's got. And speaking of Musk, not Trump, now he seems to have actually had a bit of a knack to get himself in some of the right places at the right time to take credit for other people's work.
Mm-hmm.
And and he's got that sort of marketing panache that a reality distortion field, like you were saying before, that gets people to like him and follow him and think he's great and blah blah blah. And there is something to that, but and obviously I guess you need all parts of this. Like, I mean, you brought up the Steve Jobs example. Apple would be nowhere if it was just Wozniak.
Correct.
You need somebody who can do that kind of visionary stuff and that kind of promotion stuff, as well as the people who figure out the actual details and make it work.
But I think one thing is that even on a lot of these other people, even like Steve actually delivered shit. We got a fucking iPhone. We got a fucking iPad. Jesus, we got, there were products, like real ones, that sold a lot of money. We got a fucking iPod.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were things, real ones.
Yeah.
With billions of revenue and profits.
Very true. I mean, over the history of the company, there were some rough times.
There were some rough times too, but
But
also
in the end,
he delivered.
Yes, it got to the size it is because of real things that were happening. It wasn't just all made up bullshit. And like, to be fair, Tesla and SpaceX have done some real stuff too.
Okay, but the thing is, translate like what Tesla has done into like
the numbers.
The numbers. And the reality is that Tesla right now is almost like cash flow the cash flow does not justify how much they're valued. The cash flow of any of these other things doesn't justify any of these. And a lot of the things that Steve Jobs did, the cash flow followed. It wasn't just delivering a thing. There was a business with a cash flow attached to it that generated huge growth.
Let me ask you this, specifically for SpaceX, but I guess there's some history with Tesla too. How does the transformation from private to public change how much of this bullshit you can get away with?
The thing is that he's still a majority shareholder. So the reality is that when you keep that much shareholder control, then outside pressure is not as great. Steve,
but
when they went public, had
have required public disclosures now, where previously
yes, now he's got correct, yeah, and it's one of the reasons why, for example, we know there's only 50 fucking robo-taxis out there, because of required public disclosures. That's how we found out. I obviously being public does put a different pressure. And also, I'll tell you another thing. I right now would like the most progressive fucking president that we can get the next turnaround. Mm-hmm. Because you know what? I want him to fucking like bury these fuckers like Elon. I'm so fucking done with them. Tax the hell out of them. Fuck, regulate this shit. Because another thing is that Elon has felt with a lot of impunity with SEC violations and shit like that. Okay?
Right.
He's continuously violated, regulations in terms of full disclosure, in terms of insider trading, in terms of, just stock manipulation, shit like this, where he is just not really had consequences. And in this Trump regime, nobody is getting the only people who are getting punished are his enemies.
Right. I mean, and that's the whole thing. Basically, white collar crime is legal in the Trump administration.
Yeah.
As long as you are a friend of Trump.
Yeah. Maybe that's why my tax return hasn't been paid. I'm not being. At some point, I'm like, is it? I mean, I'm a registered Democrat, or just fuck it. We're gonna you're a registered Democrat. We won't send you a refund. Seriously, I'm beginning to even question that at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. You're right. At this point, you can't.
Why would I rule that
dismiss
out
it
at this
out of
point? No, I can't just
Right.
dismiss it out of hand.
I mean, it may not be true, but you can't dismiss it out of hand.
I can't exactly. I can't dismiss this out of hand.
Yeah. No, I generally agree. I mean, you see charts going around every once in a while of sort of when you hear like "Make America Great Again" and all this kind of stuff, people say, okay, he's not real. The original thing was, okay, he wants to go back to the 1950s when he was young, but it's become clear it's really the 1890s or something he wants to go back to. But here's the thing with the 1950s. You periodically see these charts showing the immediate post-war period and all kinds of economic metrics that are just outstanding. Like the gap between rich and poor was the narrowest it had been in American history and stayed that way for decades.
Yeah.
Growth was out of control. All kinds of economic indicators were just amazingly positive. And people point out during that time, you had the 90% marginal tax rates at the high end.
Right. Yeah. One of the most progressive taxing systems, that we had. It was a very, progressive tax system. Absolutely.
And
that still didn't stop people from getting rich.
Right. And you hear the argument all the time that high taxes will keep people from innovating and
that's
keep
been
people
shown
from
to be
being
complete bullshit.
And
it's complete bullshit.
Yeah,
total lie.
And just to be clear as well, people never understand the marginal the 90%.
And it was like really like right. It was like on people. Yeah, and there were ways around it, obviously, because people got really rich despite that.
Yes, and so look, I don't think it would solve all problems instantly if you had much higher taxes on ultra wealthy, but it can't. I don't think it would hurt, and I think it would actually have a lot of benefit, And like you said, just if nothing else, one of the problems. We started. You mentioned Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugged and all of that. One of the issues that, and I went through a phase where I felt that I was fairly libertarian. I got into that, and I realized at some point that the issue that I had was not particularly big government, but I do have an issue with concentrations of power. Period. And what you have when you have people like Elon Musk is a concentration of power that is completely unaccountable to anybody.
Yes.
And that is a problem. Yes, big government can be a problem if it's doing all kinds of horrible fascistic things or whatever.
But Sam, that was the backlash in the 1920s and 30s against the robber baron era.
Exactly.
Why they broke up Standard Oil? Why we broke up all these fucking. That's exactly what happened.
And the point of democratic government is that you recognize you've got a concentration of power, so you put constraints and controls over it. And what you have right now with someone like Donald Trump, who's systematically ripping apart all of the constraints and controls that are on government, you make government more powerful, and you're building a new robber baron class who basically are unconstrained for like the reasons you said. There are laws against a lot of the stuff Elon Musk has been doing. Does he give a shit? No, because he doesn't believe that they can actually touch him. No
That's
one will
right.
actually put him in jail. And oh, they're going to fine him? Ha!
Ah,
Here's $1 billion. I won't even notice.
exactly.
You know? And frankly, even when they have fined people like him, it's not $1 billion usually. It's like,
No.
here's a couple million. Like,
Exactly.
Like, that's not even him dropping
guess-
a penny on the ground.
Here is the one thing that I guess maybe gives hope. A lot of the fucking the biggest people that have been supporters of these kind of clowns are delusional white voters that are not graduated from college. Okay, all right.
Right.
And there, a story on the cover of the New York Times that just came up like right now on my feed over here says that now finally his support amongst that group has cratered because basically, take a wild guess. What do you think finally has turned these
Of
people?
Elon specifically?
No, Trump.
Oh, we're back to Trump.
Because it goes back to why it supports these people. But why, and Trump, I think is their, like, whatchamacallit, he's their avatar for all these rich people, okay? So their support is dropped, but why do you think that is, Sam?
Well, he's not delivering anymore on all of the stuff. What? Just tell me.
It's the inflation. It's the fucking handling of the economy. It's the fact that they're all getting fucked. Listen, all it took for all these assholes to stop supporting him is gas to pop up to $5. That's all it took. And now they're like, oh, yeah, he's screwing us. Not anything else he did. Nothing.
Well,
His cratering support among a loyal demographic that has served as the foundation of his political coalition for a decade has the potential of being among the most consequential developments of 2026. Okay, basically. His support it has cratered.
This all ties back again to this whole class of people who can't see beyond what's the effect on me.
On me, yes.
On me.
On me.
Like how
And
anything
especially,
is affecting anybody else, who gives a fuck?
You gave me all these scapegoats, okay, that appealed to me and my racism. And you said you're going after them. Great. Beautiful. But now you wound up fucking them over with $5 gas. And now they're like, oh, he's fucking me.
Right. Yeah. So on my anti-bigness crusade, by the way, I definitely tax the ultra wealthy. I also think it wouldn't be a bad thing to have a maximum size for corporations too. Like you hit this size, you have to split.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and frankly, when companies have been forced to split in the past,
It's been better
Standard
for the
Oil,
economy.
the railroads, AT&T.
It's been better for the economy.
Yeah, and for innovation. Like people are
And
like,
for-
you
yeah.
know, I mean,
The breakup of
telecommu-
AT&T led to a lot of innovation. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I wouldn't be opposed at all to just have and you can do it in a dynamic way, not some hard number, but like your company is some percentage of GDP, you automatically have 2 years to split it up. You can figure out however you want to break it up you want, but you've got 2 years to split it up after
Right.
you hit this threshold.
Right.
And I think that would be good results all over the place for competition put
Jobs.
competition, jobs for consumers in general, the economy in general. You make things too big, it causes problems because their self-interests start to dominate over everything else. They don't care about anything else. And there you go. And that isn't to say some things don't. There's some things that have to be big in order to operate in the way that you want them to. Hell, I've said before, I wouldn't be upset with a world government, but it would have to be one with massive constraints on it that controlled what it could or could not do, and it was accountable in some sort of democratic way, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway.
All
Okay,
right.
with all that,
we've
time to
beaten
close
everything to death. Okay, all right.
Beaten everything to death. I'm sure there can be more things to beat.
I'm sure there are, but not today.
Let's not talk about that here. Okay. Curmudgeons-corner.com. Go there. See all our archives. See transcripts. See all the ways to contact us. Then go ahead and contact us. Oh, and tell your friends. Leave reviews places. I don't say that very often anymore. Leave reviews. Tell your friends. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. You also have our Patreon there. Go to our Patreon. You can give us money at various levels. We will mention you on the show. We will ring a bell. We will send you a postcard. We will send you a mug. All of these fun things. And and if you want to give them, go to Robin Letter too. Yvonne mentioned that too. RobinLetter.com. It's still growing. Someone created a new Robin just a few hours ago, and invited some people to join. It was cool. And anyway, at $2 a month or more, or on Curmudgeon's Corner, not Robin Letter, at $2 a month or more. Or if you just ask us, we'll invite you to the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack, where Yvonne and I and others are chatting throughout the week, sharing links, all that kind of stuff. So Yvonne, what is a compelling, interesting, super fun thing that we talked about on the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack that we have not mentioned on the show so far?
I guess the one that I shared recently where Roku has decided that they're going to improve the user experience, Sam. And you know how they're going to improve the user experience?
I saw the thing, so I do know.
They decided to revamp their home screen to give more ad opportunities on your home screen, Sam. How's that sound? Does that sound like a vastly improved user experience?
There's a reason I have an Apple TV. And not any of these other devices.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
I also, by the way, like we set up an actual television in addition to our projector a few months ago in one of our rooms, and excuse me. We set up a new TV in one of these other rooms. I mentioned it on the show. But I made very sure the TV, I'm not giving it access to the internet. I did not tell it my Wi-Fi information. I did not do any of that because I don't want the damn TV to be smart. I have the Apple TV. That's what it's going to run on. Like, there's no... I don't want the TV doing that stuff because the whole TV business at this point is subsidized by advertising and subsidized by selling information about what you watch and all this kind of crap. And I don't want that. Give me a fucking dumb monitor and I'll hook the device I want to up to it. I don't know.
So, so Roku decided...
But finding a dumb monitor is actually
very hard.
And they're more expensive. Hard. You have to get commercial displays, like the kind they use for the menus at fast food
that
restaurants.
Kind of stuff, yep.
That's what you need, and they're more expensive and harder to find, and
blah, because the ads and all this shit subsidizes the fucking TV.
The price.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, and I understand there's a benefit for having cheap TVs, but still. Anyway, go ahead.
But what it reminds me of, you remember the era when Windows, basically, when you would get a Windows PC, and it would have all this like fucking like junkware like installed there with ads read. Oh, put this other app and the other app and all and Windows 95 was notorious for trying to drive you to grab all this shit that basically was just fucking when you bought a PC from a lot of major manufacturers, it was basically just crammed with ads. Oh, sign up to this thing, get into this thing, and people were like driven crazy by this because it was just shit. Can I just get a PC just with Windows and not
Yes.
be forced upon all this junk. And basically, Roku, as I mentioned earlier, that nobody fucking remembers history, has decided that their winning strategy is to replicate that.
Beautiful. Has Windows gotten any better since then?
Not that I've heard of. People recently have really been talking how the last version of Windows is truly awful.
Great. Yeah, I haven't tried it in so long, and I don't
I have not
feel any desire to.
I mean, the last Windows that I really used that I installed was 7.
Okay.
And that was out like what? 2009? Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. I'm thinking
2008. Let me see. Yeah, I mean,
I've occasionally touched 10 or 11, not to really use it, but like touched it.
No,
that
I've touched it. Yeah.
But
Windows 7 was
one,
released October 2009. That's the last one that I ever installed.
The last one I think I actually used on a regular basis because work made me. It's probably NT.
Oh. Well, no, I had to use Windows 7. I was using Windows 7 at work up until like 2017. Yeah, that's no. Yeah, 2017. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Of course, they also made me use Lotus Notes at that.
There you go. Okay, before I finally say goodbye, I texted before this show began to my wife to get confirmation on who that person in the movie was. And we got an answer just now. Okay, and was it Maggie Donaghy? I'm just double checking the name. Yes, Maggie Donaghy. It's my wife's aunt. She was married. Okay. She was married to her mother's brother. Until her mother's brother passed away a few years back. So it's an aunt by marriage. So that's who Maggie Donaghy was, who's in Legend of the Spirit Dog, which, available on VHS if you can find it somewhere. Anyway, that's it. We're done. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for yet another Curmudgeon's Corner. Have a great week. Have fun. Be safe. All that kind of stuff that I always say. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm out. I'm going to go put up campaign signs. We finally have all the campaign signs, so I'm going to spend the afternoon putting some out. Thank you. Okay, I'm hitting stop. Bye, Yvonne.
Bye.